Stand clear.
100% Wild podcast.
So for all you listeners,
hello and welcome to
definitely not your favorite outdoor podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the DruryOutdoors 100% Wild podcast, powered by DeerCast. This is episode number 356, if you can believe it.
I can't. And I've been here for all of them. I wish sometimes I wasn't.
It's amazing.
We got a special guest. You're Tim Chelsvik. I'm Matt Drury. We are not special. We do have somebody special in studio with us.
Yeah. I don't know about special.
Well, you're special. Yeah. So that's, if you're just listening, that's Sal Frisella from Phorm.
President, CEO, just an all-around good guy.
Dad. I'm dad.
Most importantly.
I'm elf placer.
Hunting guide. The elf thing right now.
And I'm pretty good at it. I'm not going to lie.
Man.
You guys need tips? I'm your guy.
Just a tip.
Just a tip. I'll play. Not with you, but I'll play.
No thanks.
So
Was that an invite?
No.
I am sitting in the middle here. That's really weird, man.
So
And he scoots a little closer.
Sal, for anybody that may not know, Phorm Outdoors, they're a supplement company here based out of St. Louis, homegrown roots here in the St. Louis area. Andy Frisella, Sal Frisella, and it's really amazing to see what you guys have done in 20 years. It's not, I think people, much like DruryOutdoors, I always think about, we get people comment, and this is something like, you guys are killing these giant deer. You have all these huge farms. Well, it started somewhere else. It started small.
Yeah.
And you guys are similar, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think like anything else with success, people don't see the work. They see the fruits or they see the success at the backside. And, I always tell people all the time, I stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night, and that's the secret to the success, but really the work. And I much like you guys, and I think that's the beauty of the relationship that we had, or the friendship that we've developed over the years, is we understand that the journey takes time, and, nothing great happens overnight. And I relate this as, becoming a new hunter, learning to hunt, you don't become great overnight. It's a process. And so, that journey, but that's where all the stories are, that's where all the experience is built, and that's where all the fun's had. And so I appreciate you guys having me on the podcast, and I don't know what value I'm going to add. I'm going to do the best I can, and we'll work through it.
Well, and that's the part I love about you, because always humble, always the hardest worker in the room. And one of the things that I've admired is your balance of work, because you live a fast-paced lifestyle. Yeah. You guys are busy, and you balance that with your family very well. And I think the value for our listener will be some of the knowledge that you might impart regarding how you balance that. And then, hobbies. How do you fit in a hunting or a golf or whatever it is? You're new to hunting in the last couple of years. You're great friends with Kyle McClellan, who our audience would know well from the DruryOutdoors team. You guys played
baseball right?
together. Yeah. So I want to get into a little bit of all that, and just kind of, I think more importantly, I think our listeners at home could find some value in some of that balance that you show every day. And if you don't follow Sal on social media, Instagram, Mr. Frisella, it's worth following. And not just you really don't see much about what you guys do from a business perspective. Right. It's all about your daily life. And how you balance life. And it's just you're one of my favorite follows. I'm not just saying that because you're sitting next to me, arm length. You can hit me.
He's hitting on me again.
I'm number 2.
Yeah.
No, and I appreciate that greatly. I mean, obviously, for me, we started in the fitness business of really helping people change their lives. And it's what I love to do. I believe it's what God put me on this earth to do, is to help people become better versions of themselves. And it's forced me to go down a better journey. And it's held me accountable through that journey. But as I've gotten older, and specifically being a parent, being a husband, wanting to live a successful life, both in business and in just life in general, my balance for me is, success in business, success in my marriage, and success in being a father. And a lot of times people will kind of exclude one, or, really hyper focus on one and make that their version of success. And I've learned that just not to be true. And so I do my best to change and still, help people find their way through fitness. But I try to do my best in leading on trying to help people become better versions of themselves. And so as I get a little older, I stopped wanting to be more jacked and tan and look good on the beach. And I really want to try to strive and really help build men of character, people of character, by leading an example and really just showing struggle. That's the thing, man. Like, a lot of people specifically on social media, they want to show that it's all highlights, but life's not all highlights. And we get forced comparing ourselves in the highlight reel. And for me, listen, I got good days, I got bad days. I got good weeks, I got bad weeks, and I got good months, I got bad months. And something I don't know if it's it's just what I understand, that in order to be real and in order to gain real respect, you got to meet them where they're at. And my version of that is showing people where I struggle and maybe how to attack it head on.
Yeah. So how do you, for me, and Tim can attest to this too. And his life has gotten a lot busier here at work in the last 6 months or so. And I've felt that the last few years, and balancing going home and putting a smile on, a 2-hour commute for both of us daily, basically, and putting on a smile when you get home, and trying to make sure that you don't take whatever happened at work with you at home, and then trying to get out. And did you squeeze in a hunt in between there? And I think about a parallel kind of universe here. You make the time and the effort every day to go ruck or go work out or do whatever it is. That's like your version of what we're doing hunting.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
And you find that time, but you still go home and you still are a dad, and you're still a husband. That's key. How the hell do you balance it? Because I do struggle with that, to squeeze one more thing in there after all these other things. It's not a lack of getting up early. Everybody's getting up early. It's not that. It's not staying up late. It's like, how do I squeeze one more thing into this day?
Yeah. I mean, I think, for me, what you prioritize, you execute. And, a big part of that journey or growth for me was learning to say no to things that weren't in my priority bucket and things that weren't a focus to me. And so I always have like a little balance chart. It's fitness, family, or business for me. And if it doesn't fall into fitness, family, or business, I typically will say no to it. Yeah. And it's hard because, specifically as we're growing our business, I get invited to do you guys know this. I get invited to go on unbelievable hunts or go to the Masters or do whatever. And if it's not real, if it doesn't fit into my bucket at that time, I have to learn to say no. And it's making sure that I prioritize what's most important to me. And that's, for me, it's fitness, family, and business. And it's not always convenient. And I think that piece is extremely difficult for some people to swallow, because you're going to have to say no to some really cool things. But at the end of the day, balance is what people are seeking. And I think a lot of times you struggle with it. It's not really achievable either. Balance in a scale sense is 33, 33, 33. And no part of my life is 33, 33, 33. And, sometimes
it's like 90. All 100, isn't it?
Sometimes I feel like that. It gets lost and lonely in there. But I try to teach balance specifically to young men or really just, dads in general, because we all struggle with this, that, instead of trying to achieve this perfect balance, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours. That's what some people talk about. 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of family. Well, for me, that doesn't work that way. It sounds great on a piece of paper, but it's not reality in most situations. And so what I've learned to frame my brain around is being extremely intentional with where I'm at. And so learning to put your phone away when you're at home with your kids, and so, and making sure when you're on date night with your wife, or you prioritize date night. Some people don't even do that. Yeah. You prioritize that you have date night with your wife. And when you're there, get off your phone. Yeah. Make your wife, make your bride your prize. And when you're at work, you do the same thing. Like for me, I don't mess around. Like and you've known me for 10, 12 years or whatever, 10 years now. I don't go to lunch. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't go hunting in the middle of the day and I have the opportunity to. I choose not to, because when I'm intentional, when I'm at work, the people around me, they deserve that out of me. They deserve me not to go play golf and not go, like, I'm here for them. When I'm at home, I'm here for them. I'm here for my wife. I'm here for my kids. I'm here for my legacy. I'm here for my family. And so I leave work at home or I leave work at work. Sorry. And I don't bring it home with me. And I had to learn to set up those boundaries, and those boundaries are really difficult. They're tough.
Because you're constantly being pulled at that phone. It's a drug, man. And not even just a social media side, but if a work side, like you're constantly gettable. You know 100%. What I mean? You're constantly on call.
Yeah. And sometimes there's pressure outside of yourself to be responsive. Yeah. And I also think like we're all around the same age. And I think there's a point in your life where, like, when you're younger, you just say yes to everything because you have something to prove and you want to be a team player. But at some point, like, you rise to a level where too many people are trying to access you and pull you in different directions. So you have to flip that script and be able to say, like, this is not strategically part of my life's mission here.
Well, And when you're younger, those are the years where you can put in the hours and you can really put in the time and effort, and you don't necessarily, I mean, some guys do. I got married later in life, 32, I think 31, and kids at 33. So I was a little bit later. In the 20s, I mean, I was here at the studio all the time. And that's when editing and staying late, and they didn't, if they needed me to go film somewhere or whatever, those were the years I was putting in the time. But I can't do that anymore because I gotta be home. I gotta be home for my kids.
That nomadic lifestyle doesn't suit me anymore. And I actually had this with my contact guy on the way in. We were talking with Chaz. I said, the thing that makes me unique is I didn't have kids till I was 35.
Yeah.
And I was gas, no brakes, all gas my entire career. And that gave us those separating years for me in particular, to separate us from the pack. And it's really hard because that success is a drug,
still want it. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Like you think I don't want to miss an event. Yeah. Some people say, oh, I got to work an event. In my brain, that's what I'm great at. That's what I love to do. I get to do it. And it made that piece of it extremely difficult. And so learning to say no was a skill that I had to develop, because when I was in my 20s, remember, that's an opportunity. You get to say yes. And that's quite honestly, you get to go out and experience life. That's what life's supposed to be. Go see it all. Go taste it all.
Get the experiences, figure out what you like, what you don't like.
That's exactly right. And then you figure out what you like. And unfortunately, you got to give some of that up.
Yeah.
And that piece for me is again, it goes back to what do you prioritize? And you can't have you can't please everybody. Yeah. And you can't have 7 different hobbies. And you can't have, 7 different hobbies, please everybody, and have a great marriage, and have a great career, and be a great parent. You can't. You're setting yourself up for failure. And that's why for me, balance. You have to look at balance not in a 33 set. You have to look at it as an understanding that when you are somewhere, you are extremely present, you are extremely intentional, and it allows you, when you lay your head down at night, at least for me, to know that I competed when I was in the moment. And so I think a lot of people have regret because they went to work, but they really didn't work today. And the difference, right? Yeah. You kind of half-ass your way through it.
Just being there versus actually making a difference while you're there.
And same thing with your kids, and same thing with your marriage.
Yeah.
You can be there, but did you make it count?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we'll put all that effort into our hobby. You know what I mean? For hunting, you'll go out and, do all the necessary that it makes to create or grow the right buck, but you're not doing it at your house.
Yeah.
And why do you not have the balance? Because you're not there.
Yeah.
You're not putting it in.
Yeah. And I've thought about that. There's some areas of our lives where there are easier metrics to gauge, like business, it's money, it's title, it's what. With your family, it's a little harder to gauge your metrics for success there.
I think it is and it isn't, because if you see your kids growing up and they're brats or they're, kind of a-holes, that's a metric, man. And I see it, when I'm out, I have a sense of pride going out with our kids because I feel like they're well behaved, and and you could go to a restaurant and we don't have tablets in front of them and all this stuff, but you can look around and you can know like that kid's not getting the attention at home he needs, or that kid. And I'm not shaming. I'm just saying like that's a metric for success.
It's not about shaming. It's about telling the truth.
That's a metric to me.
Same thing with marriage. You know what I mean? Like a lot of guys, that's my old lady. She blah blah blah. No, like. That's because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I think the ownership piece, that specifically for males, and I'm assuming your audience is primarily male.
Yeah. But that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah. I mean, I did stand out with a couple girls last night. Yeah. But my point in that is like, we don't take ownership over that, and our job, I feel our job as the head of the household that way, you have to look in the mirror and say, hey man, like what am I doing to control the situation? And that piece is, it's tough because you got to say, well, maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the problem. And, for me in particular, when I stopped lying and I started telling myself the truth, my life took a different trajectory. And it was because I was able to hold myself accountable. And so when I lay my head down at night, I know that I know the difference between right and wrong. And I know the difference when I'm competing and when I'm kind of hiding.
Yeah.
And the ability for me to have that allows me to have perspective around balance. And then, I prioritize what I can, I manage what I can. And to your point, Tim, if you can measure it, you can manage it. And that measuring stick that you bring in, Matt, how do your children behave? Well, if you spend a lot of time with them and you're working with them and you're working on them, usually you get a pretty good result. I had one of my employees said the other day, in fact, I have my dog in studio for those listening.
Gary's in the house,
but he always says, Sal, you got the best dog. Like, why do you get so lucky? You always have the best dogs. And I said, well, is it luck? or is it
Yeah.
a little bit of, energy and effort? Now I will tell you with this one, it's lucky, but and the point being is like, you get out what you put in life.
Yeah.
And that's the piece, whether it's marriage, whether it's work, whether it's your dog, whether it's your hunt.
Yeah.
You reap what you sow, and you better be really intentional to making sure what you sow is extremely important.
And Mark and Terry, that's where they are some of the best on the hunting side of it. Like the work that they put in all year to get to those 4 months of deer season. Like they start immediately. They're working during the season, setting up, constantly changing. Like that is one thing. If these guys have been around them enough that you pick up on. It's like, look, these guys aren't lucky. They're not killing big deer after big deer, and their camera guys and their farm managers and their guests don't all kill big deer because they're lucky or they have big farms, or in a lot of cases, Mark's on 80 acres or 100 acres or whatever. It's because they work their tail off, and they always have. And that's if they're not the smartest guys in the room, they will outwork you. You know what I mean? Like that's a trait that they got from their father, and a guy that I don't even know that he got through high school. Their dad, at that time. Just worked hard.
Caught, not taught, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, the example that for me, I can only speak for myself. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I show up and I compete every single day. And I think when I look at success stories, whether it's in hunting, whether it's in fitness, whether it's in tires, that same equation runs to be true. It's not necessarily the smartest person in the room that always wins. Mm-hmm. It's the person that's willing to show up, it's willing to compete, and the relentless in the pursuit of excellence. Like that piece is, and it's not, well, you know what, I'll wait until June to get going. It's no. This is a 365 day a year process. Yeah. And I'm constantly in it. Yeah. And that's what the difference is because, when you do something you love, you never work a day in your life, right? Yeah. They always say that. It's actually a bullshit saying because, I do something I love and I get my ass beat every day. And it's work. But I will tell you, and I my guys know this, I'd show up and do it for free. And I have, and I will, and I continue will, and it won't be the last time that I have to. And the reason I say that is because when you believe in what it is that you're doing, and it makes a difference and you love it, it's not about the paycheck. And I do agree with you. Like the paycheck is a measuring stick on how successful we are, kind of.
It's definitely a society measuring stick.
That's right. And so we got to be careful with what we set our expectations up for is, this, again, going back to the social pressure of how the world works today is we're measuring ourselves against somebody's highlight reel or somebody's whatever. Money isn't the end of it. No. Now it's a portion of it. I'm the first person to tell you. Yeah. I don't want to work for free the rest of my life.
It helps you live a somewhat of an easier lifestyle
and do some things that you want to do.
Yes.
But those for
doesn't
me,
make you happy though, necessarily.
Of course. And it's not going to replace it. Yeah. But those money in my experience, again, is a direct result of the person who is most successful in the category. If you find the guy who makes the most money for Phorm Foundations, he's likely very good at what he does. Yeah. And does not have a struggle with money. Yeah. Whether it's hunting, whether it's supplements, whether it's selling water, or running the best restaurant. If you're the best at what you do, money's the byproduct. Yeah. Yeah. So you have to focus on being the best, and the best comes with passion. The best comes with pursuit of excellence, and really that resilience it's not if you get knocked down, it's when you get knocked down. How do you get back up? Yeah. So
everything, I always say this to my kids as well. It's like, all right, this is too hard. They're saying this is too hard or that's too hard. I can't do it. It's like, I know you feel that way now, but once you get through it, once you work and you actually accomplish it, once you get past that, whatever the thing XYZ was, you look back and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. It built some character. You may not realize it at the time, but it's like, oh, now I can do this. It's just a building block to go attain the next thing that's hard.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this coming from my 42-year-old self, and I feel like I'm an old soul by nature. I'm one of those guys, like I like to hang out with the older guys because I love the stories. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it also allows me perspective to pass through because I have about 400 employees under roof, and then I got about 10,000 reps that we manage. And I get, the opportunity to be able to speak to a lot of young men, just a lot of people on their journey. And, everybody puts their eye on the prize. I want to get there. I want to get there. When I get there, I'll be happy. And when I have X, I'll be happy. And I'm here like at 42 and I'm nowhere near completed where I'm going to go, but the journey's where all the fun is, man. The journey's where the grit's built and the struggle. Like, when you can conquer struggle and have that experience when I look back on all of I mean, we have a really cool headquarters here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
It's, we have almost 400.
It's world class.
Yeah. 400,000 square feet under roof now. That's really neat. But some of my greatest memories in our entire business when we were in a little shithole, you know, and we shot each other with airsoft guns. And, you walk in and you didn't know, like, I didn't know what I was walking into today. Like I'm walking in, no goggles on, no nothing. Like there's a pretty good chance I'm gonna get my ass blasted, right? So it's like one of those things. It's the journey. Don't wish it away, because when you learn to embrace it, there's a lot of lessons that are learned along that ride that are extremely powerful, especially for dads, like being able to pass that along to your children. And, it's the perseverance through the struggle that create the character that you want your children to have. And you can only have that if you go through it, and you can only teach them if you understand it.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
Well, so as you're kind of segueing.
I don't know what this has to do with hunting.
No, well, that's what the segue to me. You're talking about, those life lessons and I know you've hunted before, but recently you and Kyle, you have a farm that you purchased a couple of years ago, and you've poured, heart and soul into this piece of ground. Yep. And it's your happy place. It looks like
100%.
And so it's something that your family goes to, it's your getaway. It's not far from home, which is even better, where you can spend weekends or whatever, but you started hunting a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
And Kyle, who's, good friend of yours, you're hunting together. So he's kind of helping bring you along, but through the journey, you're also getting to bring your young son, Enzo, along. And that's probably the fun stuff. You guys are kind of learning together a little bit, right?
100%. I mean, again, fitness, family business. So here's a hobby that I tie family in. So now I'm aligning my hobbies or interest with my family. And so if I'm going to take time away from my entire nuclear family, in a sense, I'm still aligned. Sure. So I'm not outside my boundaries. But Kyle's one of my best friends and has been. We played together. So I've known 2003, so 20 years. Kyle's one of the longest friends that I've had, and it's one of those things where I don't know. I wasn't raised as a hunter. My dad didn't hunt. My family didn't hunt, and so it's something that's always intrigued me. I mean, I openly say I'm a concrete cowboy. Like I move out to the farm, I drive the side-by-side around. I'm actually the only guy I drive my side-by-side through Starbucks and through the car wash. They all judge me. And quite honestly, I don't really care, and if you know me well enough now, I actually do not care. And, but one of those things for me is I love everything about hunting. Sure. I just don't know how to do it. And I have enough humility, and a lot of people in life will just judge it versus understand it. And that's not something I want to raise into my children. I want them, if they want to try it and they want to adopt it and they want it to be part of their life, I'm going to support it. I'm going to show them the pathway. And through that little process, I've got some great bonding time with Kyle. I've got some unbelievable bonding time with my son. I get to teach him a lot about life. Yeah. Seeing the rut for the first time and watching the bucks come out.
Nothing like it.
Yeah. Watching the little guy come out and then a little bit bigger guy come out, and then daddy comes out, and lets everybody knows what's going down. Yeah. Hell yeah. And, and for anybody who's hunted with their child in the blind, this 17,000 questions are going down. Dad, I'm trying to watch what's going. Kyle's great with my kids. He's got young kids too. So, he's, we're talking and we get to laugh, but it's a bonding moment, and it's a life and it's cool. And you're in that blind. Thank God I'm in it. Listen, I gotta be honest.
Moving too much.
Well, if I was tree standing with my son, I wouldn't do this shit, but I'm fortunate. What's the blind company you guys?
You got a Hawk, I think.
Hawk.
I don't know. Muddy, one of those two.
I think I got a Muddy.
Muddy, yeah.
Who are you sponsored by?
Both.
Okay. We got a Muddy.
You're good.
I know. Okay. All right. No, but it is. We got Kyle won it actually on your show.
Yeah, on Critical Mass, he won it.
He wasn't a good enough shot. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but that's a whole other joke. He must have got lucky. But, you're sitting in there and it's 3 or 4 hours, again, uninterrupted time with your son, with one of your best friends. You're laughing. Yeah. We're talking youth sports. We're talking, crazy parents. We're talking life. We're talking, we get to catch up, get to ask my son questions. He's learning what's going on.
It's one-on-one time with you.
It's one-on-one time.
He also has twin daughters. So there's a lot there.
Yeah. I had 3 kids in 14 months. I had 3 kids on 14 months. Our business was growing,
why not?
Yeah. On, compounding year on year. I had 400 employees. I mean, my life is fast, and I'm not saying it to be a douchebag. I'm just saying it like, that piece for me is extremely important. And I find I haven't yet to harvest a deer with my son. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have no, like, I'd love to sit here and say, oh yeah, I took down a 200, buck and here we are. And it hangs them all. It's
Our
not true.
listeners don't tune in to hear about success.
Right.
A lot of failure here, Sal.
Well, hey, listen, it fits right inside with me. In fact, I was showing Matt Enzo's miss this past week or 2 weeks ago, but it's one of those things where it's uninterrupted time, in silence, phones away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking with my son. I'm talking with one of my best friends. We get to enjoy life together. To your point, no tablets, no distraction,
Mm-hmm.
and here we are. And that's life.
Yeah.
And it's really cool and it's really fun. And I cherish those hours because there's gonna be a point in time in 5 more years, I won't be the center of my son's universe anymore. He's going to move on. He's going to have his friends. He's going to do his deals. I'm going to have small moments of it, but now I get this opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I try to maximize those, maybe not as much as I physically possibly could. But I do the best to prioritize them. So I get them in so I can make them count.
Yeah.
There's something to be said to exposing your kids, especially your sons, to other positive male role models that are not their dad, like Kyle. Like they get to see how real men interact with one another and just kind of understand how those relationships work and how important those relationships work. The steel sharpens or iron sharpens iron kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's an important, allowing other men to pour into your kids' lives.
Yeah. And
it's an important aspect.
We should dive in on that. And this is the guy in me, right? I think all too often we say, well, that was my high school buddy. He's going to be my buddy the rest of my life. He could be he could be a piece of shit. You know what I mean? He could be a royal class Hoosier in the grand scheme of things and just do everything incorrectly, be an embarrassment in society. Yeah. But you know what? I've known him for 20 years, so he's my guy. I'd actually stand against that. I disagree with that. And the reason I say that is because I'm firmly set in the understanding that we have to be men of character. And the reason society is the way it is today is because weak men have allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of these guys. I don't have a tactical truck out back with, life survival kits hanging off the side of it. But you bet your ass if somebody's misstepping in the grocery store, like I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
And everybody now around me knows that there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. And I will be the voice that stands for it. And, I think having men around your children who act that way is extremely important in raising them into those people of character. And Kyle is one of those people for me. I hate giving the guy compliments, but he is one of those guys for me. But I think all too often, we allow, these people to get away with things because they've been that way for 20 years. And well, he's just a drunk and he's a bad drunk and that's okay. No, actually it's not.
Yeah.
And, making sure that you prioritize your children around those strong people of character or of faith or of, whatever it is, because you are the company you keep, and your children
100%.
End up becoming who it is that you surround and expose them to. And it's an important factor for me. Like how my kids will operate in society when I'm gone. That's my name. That's my legacy. And I'm not going to let, I went to high school with him. So he can get away with being an asshole. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, in my experience, those friends that they just kind of go away. You know what I mean?
Less
Those
and less in
friendships,
common with them.
It's just like, this doesn't align with my priorities. What does the people that I'm closest to? Well, it's a small circle of friends, but in Mark and Terry, it's the same way. I'm sure it's the same way for you. It just seems like it's smaller and smaller, but it's people that were aligned in the same areas.
Right.
And, I think it naturally, a lot of times that'll naturally happen.
It does. And I think it's important though, to be cognizant of the fact of your children are always watching.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, when they're watching how you tolerate that type of behavior and how that behavior kind of infiltrates itself around, you only need a couple bad influences around your life the shit gets crazy quick.
Yeah. No doubt.
How's the language? Am I okay?
You're fine.
All right.
Yeah.
We're cutting. We haven't started recording yet.
Yeah. Okay.
What I notice is, and I read this not long ago, that you have to, as a parent, you also have to share, you have to go outside of your comfort zone. So for instance, I don't really care to go out and hang out anymore. Like when I get home, it's like rare to just be able to go home and stay home, you know? And so I like that. I cherish that, you know, and with the family, whatever, but my wife loves to go out. She's a social butterfly.
Yeah.
And so
I take that personally.
I've seen, no, but maybe I should,
Well,
but I've noticed that my son more and more, he's just like, I don't want to go do that. I don't want to go do that. Well, it's a reflection of me because I'm always like, and Terry was the same way, by the way. This is a trait that us Drury guys have. And I'm like, damn it, I'm going to have to start going to do some of this stuff just to show him, we got to go try these things. We got to go do these things and show him that it's, you know, it's okay.
Well, and I mean, even with the first Phorm Outdoors, right? The tagline's experience more. Yeah. And I think the sentiment of that is not just the outdoors. I think it's really in life.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you never know what you're going to like until you try it.
Yeah.
And you know, for you might be hitting on, you know, I'm just kidding. I was going to go down a path here.
That's okay.
Yourself. Yeah. But you know,
there's not much of that on this podcast.
No, that's true.
For me, I can give you an example. You know, I always said, cause one of the biggest things for me when I was 35, it was like a really defining moment. So about 7 years ago, I was right before I had my son Enzo. I was about 275 pounds. I was like, you know, I always lifted, and I was still, you know, I want to say professional athlete. I played minor league baseball, but played Division I baseball. You know, athlete my whole life. I was a little bit bigger. I was still kind of, you know, whatever. But a guy challenged me to run a half marathon, and I swore, man, I swore the day I was done playing sports, like I'm never running again. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. But a guy challenged me to run a half marathon. And I'm one of those guys, like, you bet, like I'm on, like we're going to play. And I was like, well, I guess I'll do it. And so I did it. And I went out and I started training for it. And I put my mind on something hard. And I started to develop maybe not a liking for it, but an understanding of why people run. But when I crossed the finish line of running my first half marathon on my 35th birthday, mind you, I started like tear up a little bit. I started getting like emotional in this sense. And the reason being is because I had accomplished something hard that I told myself I would never do. And it was really because I was scared of doing it.
Yeah.
Like I was scared of trying something new, experiencing something new. And you never know what it is that you might enjoy until you give it a run. And that experience more, you know, kind of piece of life is extremely important because a lot of people, to your point, they set in their own ways. Yeah. And it's just like, well, this is what my dad did. This is how I am. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of some caveman thinking.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
And so opening up the vision to kind of say, okay, well, let's try a few things. You never know. You just might like it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like Matt might try saddle hunting this year.
No, that's where
I
don't know if you know about the saddle hunting.
No.
So basically it looks like a sex swing that Tim goes and he climbs up into a tree and he's just dangling there. And that's how he hunts. No lock on, no climber, no blind.
When I was at Cabela's, I thought that was a sex swing just on clearance. I bought one. It's hanging in my bedroom.
Oh, we should save a few bucks. Hey, right on.
It's not bad.
No, we like to give Tim crap. Mark, boy, the text messages. Brutal. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I won't hear from Mark for a week and then I'll get a random tree settle meme.
Yeah. And it's a great, like the guys that hunt with that style of hunting, they're deadly. You know, it can be a very effective tool. It's non-traditional from what, you know, some of these guys have grown up thinking tree stand hunting is. So
it's new. Like
it's out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
For
within
sure.
the past probably 5-10 years, it's kind of become more in vogue.
Yeah.
But there's definitely like a level of just interest in it that goes beyond like they're devotees to it.
Like into the bedroom. You know what I mean? If you go bring it home and you tell your wife, listen, we need to experience more. I didn't know you could hunt out of it for like 2 years.
Hold on.
I don't think so, Tim.
Somehow my wife gets triggered every time I get the swing out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you that experience more tagline. You just look at it and say, hey, we need to experience more.
So let's touch on it. And I know you don't, you know, this isn't why you're here, but the experience more, the first Phorm outdoor side, you guys, I think as the company, as First Phorm's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, you guys have done a great job of being inclusive into, you know, different sectors of what fitness may mean for someone.
Right.
You know what I mean? And outdoors is definitely that for a lot of people. It doesn't mean that you're running a marathon or half marathon. It may mean that you like to go hiking, you know, and go on the nature trails or go out to the parks or whatever it is for you, hunting, fishing.
Yeah. And I think just the when you look at take the hunter, the whitetail hunter, right? Because it's probably the biggest, let's say, population in the quote unquote outdoor space.
Yeah.
The 1995 hunter was Mountain Dew and a ho-ho going into the deer stand.
Scott just got offended.
Got ears perked up.
But but you catch my drift, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as time has progressed, what happens, much like that influence we talk about on our children, okay, so then their children do it, and then their children do it. And we've created this very, very unhealthy habitat for our children to be raised in. And you can see it, as the Western hunter starts coming into the hunting scene, and as fitness or really health in general starts moving in, you're seeing it come into the outdoor space a little bit more prevalent now than it used to be. However, that Mountain Dew and ho-ho still exist very, very heavily.
That's the prominent. That's the guy.
And, part of our goal when we talk about, helping people change their lives is we have to first stick our toe in there and say, hey, listen, we're not weirdos. I don't walk around. I mean, I might be a little weird, but I don't walk around with chicken, broccoli, and rice and microwave in the deer stand, hoping I can stay on point.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to set an example for my children on how to live a healthier life, I have to show them. And much like meeting a customer where they're at, like we have to, as an organization, have to be able to meet these hunters where they're at and say, hey, listen, like, I understand that you might look at me and say, well, this guy's a marathon runner. He's lifts and power lifts or walks around in a singlet. I do none of those things. I'm actually just like you, but I have a want and a need to really teach my children a better way of life, a life that mind you, was not raised in some fitness household.
Yeah.
My parents are not healthy, these model citizens. This is a mold I want to break, and I'd like to help you break it too. And in doing so, instead of taking them out and doing a ho-ho, showing them that, hey man, you can have a better for you energy drink that's going to give a better, more natural caffeine delivery, a better for you snack, whether it's a protein stick or a protein bar. That's a much better choice. Tastes great. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of times, would never eat that. It tastes terrible.
Pretty good.
No, it's damn good,
Oh, yeah.
And that introduction to that healthy lifestyle, when you start taking small habits, when you say you go to the gas station every day, he's getting a Mountain Dew and a ho-ho every day for breakfast. It happens, right? There's 700-800 calories every day, 900 calories every day in the wrong direction. That you make one small little change. You can have an energy drink, a better for you energy drink, and a protein bar, protein stick, and you can have a couple of those substitutions a day. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're well on your way to changing, maybe not becoming a fitness god, but living a much healthier lifestyle. Yeah. And if I can tell you, hey, that's not that bad, let me get you to walk a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me teach you how to walk. And now you're setting the example for your children. You can be a better husband for your wife, and you'd be surprised, man. Like, you start setting goals for yourself and becoming a little bit more, taking care of yourself a little bit more, you'd be surprised on how your children will look at you a little differently and how your wife looks at you a little differently.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's and it's a small change. I mean, you live this.
Yeah.
I mean, you of all people have gone through this change.
When I first walked in, the first time I met you, it was definitely Fat Matt.
Yeah.
It was like the worst of my, it was
a big deal too. Cause Kit was like, Matt Drury's coming down to HQ.
The Matt Drury?
Yes.
I think he meant Mark Drury. People confuse that.
Well, Mark came to the old HQ too.
Yeah. I met with Sal, and I'll never forget it because I come in there and like, they are chewing some guy's ass out in this your conference room, where is also your podcast studio at the time. This old bill, they're just lighting this guy up. And one thing you'll know about that, they got a pretty young group of men that work for them.
A lot,
and men and women, but at the time, probably more predominantly guys.
At the time, 95.5.
And so it was almost like. I think you guys were molding those guys, and I know that that's part of what your business success is, molding those guys along the way. So anyways, this is the first time I meet Sal, and the first time I see Sal, like Kyle warned me, he's like, hey, if you go down there, you better have your shit together and be ready to hit the whole running, man. You know, like have your presentation. He's a sharp guy. He's going to remind you a lot of Mark, he's you're going to get hit with a bunch of questions. So I get in there and I sit down, they're chewing this guy, I think it was the media guys. I think it was your media guys. And I'm like, fuck. And I text Mark and I'm like, man, he seems pissed today. and I'm next up. So
you waiting for the principal.
Batter up.
Yeah, we get back to Sal's office and I go through my presentation. Sal, one thing about him, he talked about putting your phone down, like undivided attention. Yeah. I had every bit of Sal's time, which was, I value greatly. But Andy walked in, and I had listened enough I knew of their brand enough where like, I'm like, shit,
here we go.
Andy's the one that actually yells all the time. And Andy just kind of like, hey, what are you guys up to? And he sat there for just a couple minutes. Then he was very disinterested and walked out, you know, and Sal was nothing but great, like a switch, like for that meeting, you know, but boy, that guy got his ass chewed before I walked in there. So Sal, after I get done with the presentation, he's like, this is great. He's like, I'm trying to sell my sponsorship. He's like, I'm not going to do any of this, but this is great. I think there's something down the road where we can, you know, we could team up, at the very least, run ideas off of each other, that kind of thing. And we spent another 2 hours. I bet I was in there 3 or 4 hours of his undivided time, just talking life, business, all that stuff. And I walked out of there and I called Mark and I called Terry. I was like, these guys got something. These guys they're on their game, their A game.
And we've had a great friendship ever since. And I think a lot of it at the time, you guys are still selling DVDs, right?
And
we started talking about
maybe at the tail end
migration.
Of it.
Like, hey, we're getting ready to do an app. You're like, we're getting ready to do an app.
Yeah. We had a lot in common. Vastly different worlds.
It is really weird,
but a lot of business, you know, in common of where we wanted to go.
Yeah, I wonder whose ass I was ripping. That's funny.
I don't know. It was the media guys.
Sure
I remember that part. It was like that little media group of room or whatever when you walked in.
Yeah. Well, for me, you know, one thing, I was raised in a locker room, right? So like that's the only thing I understand. And I take a great deal of pride in having high standards. And you know, when you go into my home is clean. You get into my car is clean. You get into my office is clean. Get in our office, like I believe in that. And so sometimes with young men in particular, and I tell them all the time, I'm not your mom, especially when I was a little younger. I was a little more firm than I am now. But you know, sometimes they want a challenge. And so sometimes they get the challenge and they get the red ass. And so, you know, I believe, you know, even in today's corporate America where, you know, everything's soft and we all have feelings, I have feelings too. And as the person who has to set the tone, like sometimes you're going to get to know my feelings and sometimes they come out a little hot.
Hey, I could relate. Felt like I was back working for Dad's construction company.
Vaguely familiar to me.
Pipe.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, that you mentioned age 35 and that's when you did your half marathon. That's when I came to the realization, like, it's like, all right, I'm getting too heavy. I'm sitting in a chair in an office all day long. I got to do something.
Yeah.
And that was about time, you know, met you and it has helped tremendously over the years. I'm not peak shape by any means, but the things that I've learned working with you guys and get, you know, trainers and stuff like that, it's unbelievable the difference of what it's done to help me just in general feel better.
Yeah, just quality of life. I mean, it's better choices, right? Yeah. And I think I think, you know, as I get older, this is what I realize is life's about making better choices. But when you know better and you can learn to actually execute on that choice, you don't have to be perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress, getting a little bit better. Yeah. You're not in peak shape. I'm not in peak shape, but I am a hell of a lot better than I could be.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, and especially down the path that I was drinking 6-7 nights a week. Sure. And I'd be like, why work out every day? Well, so do you drink every day. That's exactly right. Well, you know, maybe I'd start eating pizza on Wednesday, you know, versus, you know, like right now, if we go out to dinner, like I eat what I want on Saturday night, but I've earned it throughout the week by making just small changes, better choices. I'm not starving myself. It's about making better decisions when they're present and having the opportunity. And a lot of times for a lot of guys, specifically in this realm, and that's the purpose of First Phorm Outdoors, is meeting somebody where they're at. It's like, hey, when you walk into the gas station, you have a better choice. And I'm not asking you, you don't have to sign up for the next bodybuilding competition and put a spray tan on. I'm saying, but you do walk into the same gas station. I'm asking you to take a look at a different package in a different aisle and start to educate yourself on how to get a little bit better so that you can become a better version of yourself and a better example so you can live a better, healthier life.
A lot of people don't know this, but like 2007, I was clocking in at 240 pounds.
Really?
And like it hit me when I couldn't bend over to put my wakeboard, like clip into the wakeboard. It's like I had too much gut to bend over and do it myself.
Tim has, the pictures are, you wouldn't even realize it's the same
I was
guy.
like, I was 27. I went to my 10-year high school reunion and I just like kind of accepted that, okay, the natural trajectory in life is you get fatter, you lose your hair. And that's just hopefully you have a great personality.
Man. And you're like, I got to get fit.
Or you're rich.
So I started running and I would just cut certain things out of my diet. And dropped a bunch of weight and then realized like, I'm too thin. I don't have enough musculature to like protect myself if I fall or whatever. And so then started lifting, and like over time was able to get back doing the thing, playing hockey and mountain biking and climbing up into a tree stand and ultra marathons. Yeah.
I give him a lot of shit, but I mean, I'm very proud that you were able to accomplish that.
And
you got an ultra in your belt?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Jake came and ran support
That's awesome.
for me. So it was awesome. But like my kids see that. And my daughter's like, I think I need to make some changes. And she's like, I don't want my kids to stress about their food. Like they're young, they can metabolize through things faster. I don't want them to have a complex. And I think that's kind of the other end of the spectrum, is like, there are some paragons of health in the fitness industry that people look at and they're like, I could never become that. So I'm not even going to try. But Sal, what you're talking about, like if you can just make a few substitutions, walk a little more as opposed to driving up to the entrance, like little things you can do that really make, when you think about the trajectory of your life and those things multiplying over time, it really makes a difference. And it gives you more time in the field, more time with your kids, maybe more time with your grandkids. Yeah. Like that's valuable.
Well, and I mean, all of those things, but what about what looks back at you in the mirror? There's a pride aspect, and depression's at an all-time high, right? And it's most people, I'm generalizing here, are depressed because there's a lack of self-worth, and you create self-worth. And when you make yourself a priority, you can develop that self-worth that looks back at you in the mirror. And that piece is extremely important, because all of those tasks that you talk about, that develops who you are in character. That develops who you are as a man. That develops how you believe and perceive that your kids and wife think about you. They're all true. And whenever you know that they're not true, we start to understand that. And that piece is extremely important because, it's built. It is confidence is an earned, built trait that we all have the ability to do. It's whether we choose to do it or not. Again, this comes back to the regret thing. When you lay your head down at night, did you do it or did you not?
Yeah. And there's a biochemical implication for these habits, because there's so many guys that are walking around, as our testosterone levels dip as we get older. Like there are things that you can do, and exercise and eating well and getting good sleep are three of the best things you can do to help with testosterone. And just having like optimal testosterone levels, that's going to make you a better husband, a better dad, a better hunter, whatever you are. Like you have more energy, a more positive outlook.
Yeah. And I think to kind of sum it up a little bit, like you could go and you can hunt and not be fit. That's the majority, right? You can definitely do that. What we're talking about is being able to go the extra mile, being able to drag your deer out, being able to, but not huffing and puffing, which I feel, I started seeing this very thing. I took a break from the working out. I still was eating healthy enough to kind of maintain, but took a break from working out for a little bit. And I kind of came back to my senses. It's like, man, I got to do something. So I got a trainer and I started, because I'm not pushing myself. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have somebody hold me accountable. Yeah. So and the first thing he said, because he's a hunter, and actually at the Kyle's Gala, the 30 for the kids and all that stuff, I was at the same table with this trainer, and I knew him from when I first started working out down here at Club Fitness, that 35. And he's like, man, he's got his own gym now. And he's like, you look like you'd have trouble dragging a deer out right now. I'm like, yeah, I think you're right.
That's why I'm here.
Hey, thanks. But it was the push. He called me a week later. He's like, hey, you want to come check out the gym? I was like, yeah. He's like, that didn't take much convincing. I'm like, cause I'm ready, man. I just needed,
you're honest with yourself.
Yeah. It's like, I got to, and I'm still not, like starting that in the middle of deer season can be tough, but it was just one more excuse. Like, wait till the end of deer season. I'm like, no, screw it. I'm going to do it right here in the middle of deer season. It's deer season. It's not convenient. In fact, one day he just killed me and I couldn't even draw my bow back. Like, I'm just struggling because I hunted that night and I'm like struggling to draw my bow back. I'm like, that was a mistake. But I need to,
you learn.
Yeah. I got to get back into it. So I'm not saying couldn't you hunt without being healthy? Absolutely. People have been doing it since the 50s. You know what I mean? But I just kind of saw it as a way, like, hey, I can be better than I'm just kind of lying to myself. I can be better. Yeah. So like, I got to do something.
But I think in the 50s, obviously there's a lot more manual labor.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They were burning the calories all day long.
Yeah. Obesity was not what it is today. It's not as prevalent. Yeah. Different food sources. For me, when I look at it, man, I'm so invested in building men of character that I take all the byproducts of it. It's kind of like, they're being a better hunter is great. What about being a better version of you?
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people will back down from that, right? Like, so there are two types of listeners right now. One that's that maybe you're pushing on a little bit, and maybe they turn it off because they don't want to hear it. And then there's a second one that's going to go a little deeper here. And the little deeper here, and I encourage you to stay on, is like, hey, you're going to be dead a long time.
Yeah.
And if you don't challenge yourself to experience a little bit more and try a little bit harder, when you die or when you're laying there in a deathbed, that regret table that comes up and you start thinking about, you're going to think about all the things you didn't do.
Yeah.
And you didn't do a lot of things in life because you weren't capable of it and you weren't physically capable of it. And that piece is extremely important, specifically when you think about what you're doing with your children and how you're leaving them. And so that part is important. And then going back and just taking deer hunting into it, there's something very primal about, taking the deer,
taking a life,
dressing the deer, packing the deer,
consuming the deer,
a lean meat, carrying it out. Can you do it? Or do you have to wait until your buddy can come help and maybe get the electric vehicle in there?
Do we do that?
Yeah. Drag you out, but my point being is like, there are pieces to this yet that can make you a better performer if you choose to.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I coach people through the First Phorm app, and I've got that private Facebook group called the Legion of Woodsmen. If folks are interested in jumping in there, it's all about like the outdoor lifestyle and doing those things that are going to make you a better. And a lot of times it's about like my family stuff or just being a better guy because you can be fit and be a jackass.
That's right.
Oh yeah. There's plenty of those guys.
There's a lot of that, but like, all that stuff has to impact your core, like your character, who you are, and make you a better person. So I'll throw the link in the show notes.
Yeah, no. And I mean, and I take this very serious. Matt talked earlier, like I very rarely plug business because it's just not, I always believe that if you are the example of what would attract somebody, then naturally they're going to figure out what it is that you do. But a lot of people in this particular little segment, you don't know where to start. So they don't start. And to Tim's point, we've developed an app from, the time that Matt and I were talking. That is an all-encompassing, onboard you, walk you through the process, teach you how to track your food. We go live in the app every single day. You have a one-on-one accountability partner. You can join a Facebook group like Tim's to get them involved. And so I encourage you, if any of this speaks to you in some capacity, download the First Phorm app, get started. We're not a bunch of, I don't get in there in my tank top. I struggle with weight just like a lot of you on the audience. I mean, I've struggled with weight my whole life. My mom's overweight. My family has a lineage of being overweight. I speak fat. That's what I tell people. Mm-hmm. It's much like probably you guys in the hunting world. You guys have failed miserably a million times, which is the experience. But I've done every diet. I've taken every pill. I've taken every shot. I've done all the bullshit. And what I understand is what we have developed is a pathway of truth. I'm not here to sell product. I'm here to change lives. And so that's what we can do if you're interested in joining.
Yeah, we both use it. We both love it. The tracking the food taught me as much as anything, like what something has in it. And it's just like, holy shit. Like I'm eating way too many carbs, like it's amazing. But I think much like hunting, like you have to do the work. And that's the one major thing. I just, you can't bullshit yourself.
No
like
shortcuts.
If you're not really doing the work, you're not going to find any improvement. Same with hunting. There's a parallel here. I don't know if anybody's still tuned in, that there's a parallel. If you don't put in the effort, if you don't trim your lanes ahead of the season, if you don't put in the food plots ahead of the season, whatever the work is that you have to do, if you don't put in the work, you may not reap the rewards, and the fitness side is definitely that way.
Yeah.
You can't just, there isn't a magic, bar or a diet plan or you got to put in the work consistently.
Be suspicious of anyone who says that there is.
No, listen, if the magic pill existed,
everybody be skinny.
Everybody would be skinny, or
of course, Ozempic is trying, man.
It's trying like hell. Or we'd sell one product. You know what I mean? I'd be mega rich. I'd live on a yacht. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't go to work every single day. Or somebody would already invent it and everybody else be out of business.
Yeah.
They prey on the ignorance. And I mean, I'm sure there's a million hunting tools.
Oh yeah. Hunting industry, there's a billion gimmicks. There's a billion gimmicks. But
if you're not, to your point, you can buy all the gimmicks in the world. But if you're not taking care of your field,
Yeah.
you're not taking care of trimming your lanes and making sure that everything's taken care of, you're not doing all the prep work.
Can you get the opportunity?
Yeah, you can buy all the bullshit you want.
Yeah.
It ain't going to bring the deer to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's, but I think those are the success parallels of anything in life.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to invest in the foundation, don't expect to build a strong house. And that piece for me, in life in general, whether it's hunting, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, your children or marriage, the equation is exactly the same. You get in you get out exactly what you put in.
Yeah.
And I'd be more focused on what you put into it, because what you get out of it is a hell of a lot better.
100%.
No doubt. I think that's a good place to end on.
Dang, is that it? Is that our 45 minutes?
Now we can
It's
start
been about
recording.
an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Dang.
Woo.
We really
Yeah, like I
each
said,
other.
I don't know who may or may not still be listening. I should have prompted it at the very beginning of what we're going to be all over the board, but I think there's value. That's why I wanted to have Sal come in, because I have found value in our friendship and those conversations. Same with Kyle and having these kind of conversations, and that's why I like following you on Instagram. I find value in the message, and you get out of it what you put into it, So if I even like Cameron Haynes, he may get shit in our space from those types of hunters of like, oh, you don't have to be a marathon runner every day of your life to go whitetail hunt. Mm-hmm. But there is a message in there. There is value in there that you can pull out if you don't want to bullshit yourself anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I find myself bullshitting myself too much, it's like I see the message, or I hear a message that's like
a dose of truth.
Yeah. It's like, okay, man, if I want something to change about it, business deals. It's not just about being fit or being a good hunter. Business, it's like, all right, if I want this deal to happen, I have to, if it didn't go my way, I got to pull myself up and I got to freaking get back in there, because it's only gonna happen if I get back in there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't know all the nuance of the fitness space, but I know Cam personally, right? Sponsored by a competitor.
Yeah.
Both in apparel and supplementation. I know him personally. He's a hell of a dude.
Oh yeah.
And what people don't like about him is that, maybe he's, they look at it as like he's shoving it in your face, because he runs a marathon or whatever it may be. But your point in his message about going out and doing hard things and being a practitioner of the bow hunt, is extremely important, because in order for him to be the best bow hunter that he can be, he has to be the best version of himself physically. And it allows him to go deeper into the woods, allows him to pack out, and harvest a larger animal. Like I think what people don't like about it, he's actually living what it takes in order to be the proximal, the pinnacle.
He's the apex.
Hell
right?
yeah.
It's like there's the hate is because most of us won't put in the work to get to that level. But I've seen Cam when he looked, scrawny like us, and then what he's looks like now. And, it's been a change in 20 years of hard work every day. And, he's run the Boston Marathon and he's done all the stuff that, he's living that lifestyle. So it's he can share the message because it's not bullshit.
Of course. And I think that's what I find, the authenticity that comes behind him. Now, I'm not in the hunting space, so I don't know all the nuance of it, but I'm going to tell you, like, I've been around, I've seen them all on the internet. I mean, from Goggins to Haynes, anybody that you've seen on the internet, I've probably met or crossed paths with. Passed with. Let me try that again.
Pass with.
There we go. Thank you. He's a good man.
Yeah.
And I'd vouch for it in a sense, because he practices what he preaches.
Oh yeah.
And he's not out there faking it. He's taking his shots. He's doing the work. He's hunting the animal.
You can't fake what he does.
That's right.
I mean, that's the reality. Like, you can fake a lot of stuff on social media stuff, but you can't fake that.
That's right.
So,
well, listen, I'm not closing it for you guys. I'm obviously no newcomer to the podcast, but I appreciate you guys having me on. It's an honor. It's cool. I've seen a lot of people sit in this seat. I didn't know if I'd ever be it.
Okay. now the salesman's coming out. No, we appreciate you coming in, taking time out of your busy schedule. It means a lot to me personally. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I think, the viewers that or listeners that are tuning in, if they want to hear this message, they're still listening. Yeah. And they found a lot of value. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys coming. And again, I'll close it with those guys. If there's anything that we can do to help and you guys are looking to start your fitness journey, hop on to Tim's link. You can put it in the show notes. But as an organization, if there's anything we can ever do to help, your audience or you as a listener, remember, nobody comes in as a pro. Everybody comes in as a beginner. I don't expect you to know. Much like me walking into the woods for the first time with my son, I don't know shit. But I understand if I'm going to know, I got to take step one.
Yeah.
And step one for you guys is downloading the app, getting in the group, and let's 100%. Get you moving today.
You don't always kill. Sometimes you miss.
Yeah.
That happens.
Just missed 2 weeks ago.
It happens.
We missed out on that. We should have told the story of Enzo. My son.
Tell it, man.
No, we were, deep for the last person here hanging on. We got you, but
bonus content.
Yeah, bonus content. 2 weeks ago, we were in the blind with my son and Kyle, and we're there, and we're in at 2:30. Kyle's got to be there. Me, I'm late to everything. Kyle, because he's retired, he's got shit to do. He's there early.
Very timely.
Yeah, and he knows that I'm late too, so he's like pushing on me. And we get in there, and my son's 7, so we are literally 9,000 questions in, and we're approaching the 4 o'clock hour, maybe even like 3:40. And Kyle had enough because Enzo had asked him so many damn questions. Kyle even pulls out his phone, puts on the NFL Network. Yeah, he wore his ass out. And so it's Chiefs Raiders, so we start watching Chiefs Raiders for about 2 seconds. Big boy walks out.
Here we go.
And, it was really cool because Enzo, he's now a million questions turns into 10 million questions. He's excited. Hey,
shut up.
Yeah, that's right. He's looking, calm down. So sitting him down, and we're all talking, and we drop the big muddy window comes down. Mm-hmm. The cold air starts moving in, and there he is. And we're shooting him. He's about 92 yards. Enzo's on a crossbow, and Enzo wants to pull trigger.
Sure.
Let's get after him. Like, hey, it's too, trying to teach him again. It's the
too
lesson.
Far.
It's too far.
Patience.
Hey, we got to get him in. It's, but I could shoot it, Dad. And, he starts walking away, and he, goes off and walks into the woods. Then the questions start coming. We start answering them. He starts laughing. He says we're being loud in the blind, whatever. And another one walks out. We walk him through the same process. This guy comes into about 65 yards. He's getting within firing, just kind of walks around, does the deal. And, it starts to get, how it is, starts getting a little cold now. Now it's getting chilly. Sun's going down. We got about 10.
Windows up, sun's down.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they've got a 10-ish minutes of shooting light left. Okay. It's pretty dark. And Enzo spots one. He's off to the left-hand side through that little envelope window. And, Dad, see it, and so here he is. We're orchestrating everything. We're in that blind. We're sliding around. Kyle's kind of jammed in the corner. We got the bipod sitting there in the middle. The crossbow's sitting through the window, and Enzo's actually sitting in my lap, and I'm looking over his shoulder. His heart's racing, at 150 beats per minute, and he's wanting to, pull the trigger, do the deal, and we're sighting him, shooting him. He's about 42 yards. We're in a perfect. I'm thinking, holy shit, this is it. Like he's gonna have his moment.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah, we're gonna get this done. And it was a nice, not as big as deer one, but it was a nice 8. Uh-huh. And for the first look, this kid sees 3 great bucks first day.
Pretty big hunt.
Yeah, like it was really cool. And we're through the window, and he sights up and boom, pulls the trigger. You hear boom.
And they got a Tacticam camera on the scope, so we were able to see the footage. So he's on him.
Yeah.
He's on him.
He's right on the shoulder. He's exactly where it is. But I'm looking over his shoulder, and I see that the arrow goes out and hangs a hard left. And at first I thought, shit, it clipped the side of the window, or something. Something happened. And or he pulled off whenever he was shot. Pulled the trigger and yanked him away. But what had happened, and to the point that we had the camera, he was dead on, man. He was breathing, his heart was racing, and I can't see through the scope, so I'm hoping he's on the right spot. And I'm trusting where he's at. I got my arms around him, give him a hug, and here he is, man. He's ready to rock, and boom, pulls that trigger, and I was so excited, and it was like so much, excitement, joy, and disappointment all in one little moment. And
that's hunting.
It's familiar too.
Yeah. But it was so great because of the failure, right? Like, it wasn't a win for him.
Yeah.
And he had to experience shit. Like
it's going to be so much sweeter when he does win.
Yeah. And, and that's the lesson. So now he's jonesing, man. I want to go back out, and Kyle's,
awesome.
And I need some help because, for me, I don't know. I don't know if I shoot the deer, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I take my hunter safety. This is great. Like I know all about a gun safety. We can drop it. We can shoot it. I know we're in bow season, but we can take it. What do I do with it then? So Kyle's going to come with us and walks through the process, but he's jonesing like crazy. And so I'm excited. We're going to try to get back out this Saturday.
That's good.
Hopefully we can use our DeerCast. We get a good little, get a
journal
nice
entry.
Nice win.
That's right.
And maybe I'll even make it on the board.
That's right.
Yeah. We'd love to see it.
Special. It's special though. It's a tense time. And it's even one of those things where when you're with your kid you want them to succeed in anything in life, but you can't pull that trigger for them. You can't aim for them.
It's all them.
That's the lesson, right? Like, hey, you're pushing them out of the nest. Fly, baby.
That's right. Well, and I was holding them. You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting here, like I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and he did. Kyle sent me the footage that night because I was like, all right, how'd it go? You know, he's like, man, we saw every deer, every buck, you know, and all this, and he sent me the footage. I was like, dude, you better tell Enzo that wasn't his fault. I think a collar opened up on the broadhead, and that's why. I mean, that's my theory on why it flew like it did because he was on him, and it would have been a dead deer, I think. So
yeah, I was excited. I'm excited to get back out there. It's you know, listen, but that's what we're here for. You know what I mean? It's not about the wins. It's about the lessons along the ride.
That's right.
So
fun stuff.
Well, I'll make sure that I tag your IG in our show notes so people can follow along. So when Enzo does kill a buck, I'm sure we'll see it.
That's right. That's right. Well, again, brother, appreciate you.
Appreciate you, boys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sal.
Greatly appreciate you guys having me on, and hopefully added some value.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. All right, guys. Until next time, we love you. Be safe. Peace out.
See you guys.
DeerCast is now supercharged with maps. Get ahead of your game with killer new features like live Doppler radar, wind check out to 5 days, virtual rain gauges, GPS path tracking, and more. Plus, get our 14-day revolutionary DeerCast prediction and access to DeerCast Track. Prep, predict, and pursue with DeerCast.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast. Prep, predict, and pursue your target buck.